Hello, welcome to this tutorial. Today we are going to be making Sappa. Sappa is about the way that we make our Sappas here. Our Sappas are usually about 3 inches at their core, 3 inches high, and then they end up being about 5 inches tall. So let's just get started, okay? You've got everything you need in your kit. You're gonna have some needles of different sizes, and that's what we're going to be working with. You're also going to have your core fiber, this stuff, and your merino roving as well. At some point you might, if you choose to keep felting, you might want to consider using handles so you can attach multiple needles or just single ones. You can even get multi-tools like this kind of guy right here. But for now, we can just use these single size needles. You have 3 different sizes and you can separate them out. Let's get started, okay? Let's make our core for our Sappa. So the first thing we're gonna do is just grab a big handful of fiber, core fiber like this kind of polyfill. You probably won't need to use all of it, but anyway, the key to getting a nice even core is you take your fiber, let's kind of make it nice and even, all right? Take your fiber, take about, let's say like this kind of handful, and the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna put it on your mat. You're gonna use your mat as a resistance, right? And you're just gonna kind of fold it in. Try and make like an oval kind of shape, right? And now take and just kind of hold it down. And you're gonna take your 36 gauge needle, so that's gonna be your biggest needle, but the lowest number actually, and just start poking. What we're doing is we're using the largest needle, which is kind of like the coarsest, in order to thatch the fibers together so that they hold a, like a rough shape basically. And you just keep going. Needle felting is definitely a labor of love as far as crafts go. So you can kind of just relax into it. And just enjoy the process. And just get used to, get used to using like different different size needles. Get used to feeling like what it feels like basically when you are felting the fibers together. And just keep the pressure on. If you have a tool like one of these guys, I would say just go ahead and use it. You can see how quickly multiple needles together can start to give us the shape that we're looking for. So we started with like an oval basically, as you can see. And that's what I would go for roughly. So I just tuck these things in. Just be thinking like, this is going to be kind of long on one side. And even though there's still, it's still not very even right now, that's perfectly fine because we're just gonna keep going over it. And this may take you several minutes to achieve, which is perfectly fine. Just take your time. Let's see kind of what I've got here. I mean, that's what we're looking for. And like you can see kind of a similarity already. And see how this is like, this is a lot bigger, it's a lot puffier. It's kind of all over the place, kind of misshapen. That's okay, because this is just the beginning stage. We're gonna eventually, like, the more we felt, the more compacted this shape will become until it starts looking like this. And just, you know, of course, be conscious of where you are poking with these needles. It definitely hurts if you poke yourself. You can also, if you get a felting kit, you can purchase those pretty easily. Any craft store, Amazon probably as well. A lot of those felting kits will come, in fact, they'll come with like little leather finger guards for you. But I use handles because I do a lot of felting, and these handles are just really great at like basically just protecting your hands from just repeated stress. Let's see, all right, like this is actually starting to look like a shape. And what we're doing is we're gonna take our kind of, or what I'm doing right now is I'm taking what started as basically like an oval, and now I'm like kind of turning it into a cylinder, right? Like this is kind of flattening out this one end. This is gonna be his base. I'm gonna speed it up a little bit by using a multi-tool. Kind of flat, right? And then I'm just gonna keep on going. Let's see. And I can compare. So again, this guy's about 3 inches from base to head. He's got like a domed head in there. So yeah, it's still quite a bit thick. I'd say it's probably like a couple inches across. Less maybe, no, yeah, about a couple inches. So just keep going. And remember, like, this project will go by, any needle felting project, in fact, if you're doing 3D needle felting, will go by much faster if you remember to use your pad as a resist, right? Like, as a way to keep the fibers compacted rather than just doing it like this. Like, if you just do it like this up in the air, first of all, you're definitely gonna risk poking yourself, and also it's just gonna take so much longer. Using this, having as a form of like pressure and resistance, it just allows you to get a nice compacted and even surface so much faster. Up a little bit. Okay. I kind of just like turn them around Needle felting, again, is a very, it's not a fast process. It's a slow process. This is like a great way to spend, you know, a weekend afternoon or after work. And see how, like, yeah, look at him. He's kind of flat right now. It's a cylinder with like a little dome at the top. That's where his head is going to be. Lots and lots and lots of stabbing. But it's gradually getting more and more narrow. I'm going to switch over to my multi-tool, which again you can find easily in almost all needle felting kits that are being sold these days. And again, you can do this with a single needle too. Again, I am using the biggest needle that you have in your kit, the size 36 gauge needle. And, you know, I have them, I recommend to, whenever you're doing a project, to like separate your needles by size and just kind of have them in front of you so you know where they are. But again, like if you don't have a handle, it's fine. It would look just like this. And I would encourage you, like this is meant to be like a pretty easygoing project, and it's meant to just really just allow you to just get the feel of what it's like working with fiber, what it's like working with different kinds of fibers and different gauges of needles, and allowing you with a pretty simple design to practice creating even surfaces. It's all about practice. And we're like, you can speed it up by putting pressure on it against the mat. Like I'm kind of pushing down. I want him to be a little bit shorter, right? Because like I know his hair, the hair takes up a couple inches probably. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm kind of compacting him down. Compacting him and making it even. You can even out the lumps. There's a good chance, especially if you've never needle felted before, there's a good chance that your core is going to be kind of lumpy. And that's okay. What I suggest doing, if your core is super lumpy and uneven, I suggest reaching for a narrower gauge needle. So like this would be a 38. And going over it, just because it's finer, it's a little bit more precise. And just go over the lumpy spots. It is possible to overfelt to the point where like it's just so tight and lumpy that like you're just not gonna be happy with it. That is possible, but like you can always add onto it and needle felt over like a big misshapen mess. It's kind of the nice thing about felting. You just add on. Okay, so I'm getting pretty happy with this shape. It looks pretty even. And yeah, about roughly the same size. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out my fiber, my wool. Some people call this roving or tops. But anyway, this is wool that has been carded and dyed. This is it's called merino. It's the kind of sheep that it comes from. It's very nice, soft, beautiful kind of fiber, natural fiber. Okay, so this is, I think, kind of the fun part. When we take our fiber, right, the way that we create an even coat is we pull. And less is generally more, I would say. You want it to be even. So having a nice wide layer of felt when you lay it down is going to allow you to create something more even than like just a big chunk laid on top, okay? Just try to go like practice tugging it, because you're gonna be doing this with all kinds of projects. Just sort of pulling the fiber into thinner strands and kind of like having a nice wide, thin band of fiber like that. And then you just lay it on, right? Okay, so I'm gonna use a 38 right now to start thatching that on. Okay, maybe I'll try a 40. Ooh, I think the 40 is actually probably working the best. Okay, so we're just adding our merino wool to our core. Or you could, of course, use a multi-tool like this just to help you. If you have a tool like this, often they come like this. They have a whole bunch of areas where you can put needles in, or something like this. Right now there's only one, but this one you can put up to 3 in, and you can work with like 3 needles at a time, which can really help you sort of speed up if you're trying to create like a flat, even surface, which is basically what we're doing right now. So I'm just gonna keep going all around, laying the fiber out. And you can go ahead and like just sort of experiment with like what happens when you use different sizes of needles. But like I'm gonna probably keep going with a 40, the thinnest, because that seems to be the size needle that gives us the least amount of like puckering and dimpling from the needle's entry point. And you can go smaller than a size 40. We included a 40 for you as the smallest one in this kit, but you can do, I mean, I also use 42s. Yeah, they go thinner depending on what I'm doing. Like I might use like a 42 or smaller. If I'm creating eyelids or something on a creature, that's a great time to be using a 42. But like multiple size 40 needles, like on something like this, you know, again, is really good for this kind of project. This does, again, this kind of tool, it's just another kind of tool. It is not necessary. It's just something that helps though. That's just showing you what it looks like when you use that. But we only have singles right now, so we're gonna keep working with these single needles. Okay. I might even switch this out. Back, grab more, and I'm gonna grab more. Yep. I'm just gonna lay it on, kind of like that. I'm like, yeah. I like kind of wrap the fiber over the base like this and kind of hold it with my finger while I am felting on. You should have more than enough roving to cover this whole little body shape. I can start to get pretty generous on the top. See how I kind of just like grabbed a nice wide layer and like basically just like wrapped it over the dome of the head. And it might look a little messy when you're done, and that's okay. This is a craft that takes kind of a lot of practice to get even and neat, and that's okay. It has a lot to do with how you're pulling the fiber across the core shape. You know, this is also natural fiber, by the way, so sometimes you might see little bits of matter in there. That's okay, that happens all the time. Usually, I mean, it's pretty common. Just, yep, just keep going. Ooh, pink. Just keep on going wherever you see, because you can lay this stuff out. Oops, a little bit of like hay in there. There we go. Yeah, just lay it out, cover it. If it doesn't look perfect, that's okay, because we're just gonna come back to it. I'm gonna keep adding. Remember, like, a good way to get it around the base is to like drape the fiber over and then kind of like fold it onto the bottom and hold it like I am right here. And while you are like felting the coat on, like the top coat, you're also further compacting the core fiber. So you're also like basically like refining the overall shape of your object as well while you're doing this. Which is why when you are felting any project, it's just always like when you're making your core, like always make your core, let your core be a little looser, a little bigger than you want your final project to be, because as you're putting on the layers, the top coats, you will be compacting your project. So it's always going to be a little bit smaller once you're finished. We're getting there. Like, I don't know, practice using, let's see, like, can we speed it up if we go back to a 38? Yes. So just to remind you guys, I switched out. I've been switching back and forth between needle sizes. So right now I'm using a 38. I was using a 40. And that's just like helping me condense the fibers faster. But yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. Alright, I'm just gonna speed it up for the sake of this video. And we're almost there. Okay, getting there. Ouch. There. I should start ending up with something kind of like this. Okay, and you can keep going over it and over it. Look for little spaces where you see, you know, patches of core fibers showing through. And again, you take like a bigger needle to kind of wrap over and like really just poke in there. Okay, kind of like that. Yeah. I'm just gonna speed this up. I don't have to be a perfectionist about it because I mean, like, you can always keep felting over it. But okay, for now, we have a pretty good shape going on here. It's pretty well covered. So let's make Sappa's hair, okay? So let's do this. Okay, I'm gonna, again, take the fibers. I'm pulling the fibers like with my hands like this. And I'm pulling so that I can get a nice kind of even wide band. And I'm gonna lay it on top like that. Okay. Lay it on top. I just put the fibers about like midway on the Dita. I'm sorry, on Sappa. And then I kind of just like thatch it all in there. Okay. Look. And that's going to be his little Sappa's hairdo. And kind of leave the top fibers loose. Yep. Pull the fiber. Looks pretty good to me, but I can, yeah. And just go all the way around. I think I'm gonna go, yeah, I think I'm gonna take my 36 again. And just get that on there. It's like a crown almost on his head. I can go back over this later to make it even. But that's what we're doing here. Okay. Okay. Just keep going all the way around. Does not have to be perfect, but we are going to keep going all the way around, trying to blend those fibers into the rest of the body and let it just kind of rise up at the top. Nice and simple. And as you're doing this, maybe you can see like, oh, well, he's bulging in the middle. I don't really like that. It's going to make the head look kind of funny. You just go over that middle area again and just flatten it out. And that's how I prefer my Sappas anyway. I like them to be pretty much straight going all the way up. All right, let's go around this side here. And we're getting very close to being done. Let me get my 36 again. Oops. Yeah. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, look at that. We're starting to get somewhere, as you can see. This guy's still a little chubby, I think, which is fine, you know. I kind of like, again, I prefer kind of a straighter form for a Sappa. So I'm choosing to go over it a little bit more. And with this Sappa, I will also, as I'm seeing like some white spots showing through. I'm gonna go over again with the merino wool to cover him up. But I'm getting us ready to just move on to the next step here. So again, like always, just be looking for places where you can even the frame out. Again, like I use, for most of my projects that I make, I use a range of needles and a range of handles as well. Okay. Ouch. There we go. There's that. There's our guy. For now, I think I might, again, like, I kind of want a little slimmer. So I'm just putting some pressure. I'm putting some pressure with my hands, like, onto the mat to squeeze him down. I'm going over it with a 36, so like the big coarser needle. Stronger and faster. Okay, And yes, there's like some lumpiness, some like hole marks and stuff. That I'm just gonna go over again with a smaller gauge, a higher gauge, sorry, afterwards. But I also want to move us on to the next step where we can put our eyes on, okay? So for this, we are going to be using our awl, which we have provided you with in your kit. Awls are great for putting in eyeballs, or like adding in, like creating an area where you can insert armatures, for example, on more complicated projects. So awls are great. So you're going to take your awl. Let's grab your glue that we also provided you with over here. This bonding agent, really good. I highly recommend over permanent glue, for example, or super glue, just because you have time to let it set. Okay, and right now I am picking out some eyes. You can pick out eyes too. And you might want to play with like how you set your eyes, like how far apart you set them. So let's see, I have these two little clear ones. I think I'll do blue. I don't know, or I could do brown. I'll do brown. Okay. Okay. Get your awl, poke right in. It's very, very sharp, so don't stab yourself with them, please. Okay, there's one hole. Do you see the hole? And I'm gonna put my eye in for placement, just like that. And I'll put another hole in. What you can do also to make it easier to insert is needle felt around the hole where the eye is going to be, just to help it like set evenly. Okay, that might be it. That's how that looks. I think, you know, maybe I think I want the eyes a little bit closer. So if that's the case, you just make another hole like I just did right here. And then put them in. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cute. All right. So what I'm gonna do here then is I'm going to take my super glue. Once I'm happy with the placement, and again, like you can mess with this. You can like take them out, you can spread it out, you can, all right, what I'm gonna do here to make it a little bit more even is felt around the hole that I've created so that the fibers, one, like allow me to set the eye evenly on the surface, but also so that the fibers don't cover up the hole when I come in to glue it, okay? All right, cool, here we are with this. This glue is really nice. Here we go. So what you can do is take your glue tip and just squeeze a little bit in, like directly in the hole. This is good. It's gonna, if you squeeze inside the hole rather than on the eye itself, this is gonna make sure that the glue just doesn't spread out all over the place and become messy and sticky. So there we go, that's on. I'll pull this guy out and then do the same thing with your bonding agent. Fill the hole. Remember, this is really, really strong stuff, so you know, you don't need a ton of it. And again, put it in the hole, not the eye. Okay. And there, whoop, screw my cap back on. Okay. And there you have it, guys. You have a little Sappa who can cause mischief and live with you or live with a friend. And you can fix them up however you want. But anyway, that is a Sappa. Thank you so much for using this tutorial and have a great day. Bye-bye.